there was plenty of low-hanging fruit. So, yes, they existed, but you didn't have to appeal to them quite as much as you have to appeal to them now, because everything's become much more competitive. There are fewer opportunities, even in places like China and India. Because the locals, whoops, how did that happen? Well, however it happened, we will have to fix it, won't we? No, that is not the end. I promise you.
No, entropy.
It is not the end. It's not the entropy either. There you go. So let's look. Oh, it's funny when you go from one version to another, the animations change. It's funny. Let's look at some of the meta trends that I see going on that impact this entropy versus growth model. I'm very conscious of the limits of technology. For example, how many years, almost since the Club of Rome study in 1972, we've been talking about the need for alternate energy sources, solar, wind, geothermal, blah, blah, blah. And how successful have we been? How successful have we been as a planet in weaning ourselves from petrochemical products as our sources of energy? Not very successful at all. So there's a possibility of entropy there. I also already highlighted the growing income inequality in important markets in the world. The retreat from risk-taking. This, to me, is a big one. I see it. I talk to people who graduated from Harvard Business School 20 years ago, and I see these people as not being risk-takers. Perhaps it's an idiosyncratic point of view on my part, but I think the whole idea of hiring contract labor because it's cheaper is an extremely risk-averse strategy, which is bound in the end to fail. I think I heard an anecdote, and we have headhunters in the audience. You can tell me if I'm, just not making sense. A friend of mine told me about his brother in California who's about 40 and was in the insurance industry, was trying to get a new job, and said that he couldn't even get an interview because the company only wants to interview someone that they are already sure they want to hire. I always thought an interview was where you find out if a person is the sort of person you want to hire. No, they don't want to waste time. And they don't want to get involved in a potential lawsuit type situation. Very risk averse, very, very negative, negative energy. Fear seems to have overtaken greed, although, as I showed you in the charts before, there's plenty of greed. But the fear is the thing that has become very widespread at all levels of management, whereas the greed is only apparent at the very top. But the fear is a very general thing, and fear breeds entropy because people get paralyzed. People don't take chances. And if you want an economy to grow, you must take chances. You absolutely have to be willing to fail. Here are some more of these. Obviously, there's social problems that cross political boundaries that are affecting all of us. Aging societies, although actually, I'm one of those people who doesn't think the aging in the West is such a bad thing. And by the West, I include Japan as well. There are ways to adjust your society to deal with an aging society. It's not as bad as it's made to be, but it's made out to be a major social problem. The major social problem is that people who are not old don't want to take care of the people who are old. That's a social problem. And that's part of our new post-industrial structure. Also, you have a lot of educated people around the world who are young, who cannot find appropriate work. That also is very dangerous. That happened in Europe, and you know where that led. Don't start me on European history, because you know it will never end. But indeed, that's a very dangerous thing for the world to have. And of course, there's radical Islam, which I'm not supposed to mention, but it's true. It is a threat. It is a threat because it's a religion rather than an ideology. If we're an ideology, there's a tendency to rationality, but if it's a religion, all bets are off. And we have belligerence as a drag on healthy globalism. We've been very, very lucky. I just mentioned it in my international marketing class this afternoon that since 1945, yes, we've had wars here and there. We have not had a world war. And a world war is a very different animal. When you have a world war, you can't find sugar, you can't get fuel, you can't get rubber. It's a very different thing economically from what we've had. So belligerence and threat